CNBC-TV18 Adobe present Experience Makers.
Hello and welcome to Experience Makers, a presentation from CNBC-TV18 and Adobe. In the past few years, the world moved steadily from selling physically to selling online. But now, with digital selling established, the winners are the ones who are able to provide better experience to their customers by focusing on delivering personalized experiences at scale. Businesses can create long-term customer value as also distinguish themselves in the digital era. Experience-led growth has thus become a key driver of profitable and sustainable business growth. Today, we are exploring the importance of experience-led growth and the pivotal role that it can play in achieving profits with 4 marquee CXOs. I have with me Mr. A. Balasubramaniam, Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer, Aditya Birla Son of AMC, Vijay Chandok, Managing Director, CEO of ICICI Securities, Suresh Vadavi, the Deputy Managing Director, HDFC Life, and the lady, Pratibha Mahopatra, Vice President, Managing Director, Adobe India. Well, gentlemen and Pratibha, thank you very much for sparing time for a very interesting topic. And Pratibha, I'm going to begin with you, not just because you are the lady, but also because, in a way, Adobe services the financial sector giants to help them give better experience, from what I understand. Can you just explain how you all pursue this at Adobe India?
I'm really privileged to have my fellow colleagues from the financial services sector, but we do service every customer who has a digital presence or has digital aspirations.
Yes.
Right? And that we do 3 ways. Of course, many of us know Adobe as the creative people or the people who have PDF.
The PDF people.
Right. But there's a third dimension to all of it, which is Adobe Experience Cloud. And that is about the touch points, every touch point that you have with your end customers, what kind of data and inputs you have about them, what kind of content that you share with these end customers, how do you target them, and what kind of campaigns and customer touch points that you go and give to them.
So basically, you design their
absolutely
their customer interface.
Their customer interface. So that is what we call the customer experience platform, and we have something called the Experience Cloud, which is powered by Adobe Experience Platform, which has these pillars of content and commerce, data and analytics, then the customer journeys, powered by a lot of AI in it, so that you have the predictive models of understanding what the customers want.
Let me get to the guys who are using this, these gateways or these interfaces. Suresh, let me start with you. Insurance, I guess, was most challenged during COVID. We always had a live person selling an insurance policy to us. And suddenly for 3 years, you had, someone coming digitally to sell something which you're going to, service, going to pay out for 20 years. So you tell us how you all have been able to make that experience better. Pratibha can give you the interface. But how did HDFC Life make experience better for the customer?
I think the whole focus on customer experience and customer service started way back, right? And I think, the way HDFC Life has looked at this entire journey has been to look at product propositions which are probably best in class for the customers. Look at, technology and digitization, which makes it very easy for the customers. And experience, because, life insurance is a product which, like you said, is you buy now and really the experience could be at the time of buying, but the real experience is when the claim comes in 20 years later, or the maturity payouts come in much later, or your annuity proceeds come in much later. So really it's a question of building trust for the end customer. So a lot of our work went in terms of building the value proposition, ensuring that the transparency of the products, in terms of how we deliver, how do we train our employees. A lot of that happened over multiple years. It just so happened that we invested in digitization for many years.
Okay.
Because what happened was that we
So
realized...
kind of ready when?
We were. So in some sense, in fact, one of the reasons when COVID came and a lot of fees came, because you're right, a lot of life insurance products are sold face-to-face.
Exactly.
And it's not so easy. It's a little complex to be, explaining certain set of products. Term is probably easy, but then what we realized is that because we had the technology interface, because we had invested in technology over multiple years, we were able to kind of bring that to the fore and ensure whether it was the sales interface, whether it was the illustrations to be done, whether it was the renewal payouts to be done, whether it was training of a financial consultants or employees, all of that was anyway ready and digitized.
Okay.
And so COVID in some sense kind of pushed everything to the fore and we kind of expanded very quickly.
Okay.
And we were able to gain significant market share, not because the fact that, look, we were ready only digitally, because over the years, we had built that trust and we had realized that we had this capability of delivering it for the customers.
You know, in broking, the customer will realize or not realize the experience immediately. So, how does it work, Vijay? You know, in this digital world where even margins are, the margins that you can charge are falling a lot, how do you bring that experience to the table so that the customer doesn't quit?
Yeah, the context of our industry is extremely different relative to some of the other industries. Number one, it's hyper competitive. Number two, you find that most of our customers who are coming and the entire journey is digital, starting from becoming a customer to making a purchase, to getting the fulfillment, getting the cash, all of that is all seamless and digital. So we also face another kind of a unique challenge. The same customer is buying on a platform like a Swiggy or an Amazon, or buying, placing a order on a
Absolutely, a Flipkart, everything.
Yeah, and therefore willy-nilly, despite being a regulated financial place, there's a tendency to actually get compared with the kind of experiences. So the expectation is of a very, very high.
I was going to ask you that because it's a complex product.
Absolutely.
I mean, do Pratibha's interfaces help you, explain a complex product?
Absolutely. So, today data, the analytics, and the use of technology to deliver a UI UX which makes it really seamless. One doesn't think from the point of view of a product. One needs to think from the point of view of a customer and point of view of what the customer is there for. The idea is to flow through that whole process and that he's going through and let the products which are relevant get embedded in the process of that journey.
Bala, to speak about mutual fund, equity has become a cult in India, and clearly people are accessing equities through mutual funds. Unlike, say, 20 years ago when, people would dabble directly. Now, mutual funds, all said and done, tend to become confusing and complex. So, are you able to use, interfaces like Adobe to declutter the extent of information?
I think the industry from a digital adaptation point of view, it's evolved quite nicely, especially in the last 4 or 5 years. As rightly put it, the number of customers coming to the mutual funds have been growing. SAP way of investing has now become the new way of investing. Usage of digital, almost 90% of the transaction coming to the digital platform.
Yes.
Therefore, the access of the data for connecting with the customers through the digital platform has gone up quite significantly.
Well, absolutely.
So I think since the time we introduced Adobe at IISL Live AMC, somehow think which we could do it, one, get the customer interface in one platform. I think one phase, you get all the details of the customers using the platform, ability to actually analyze and put everybody together. Therefore, that gives you one view. And second, the customer's behaviors varies from one person to other person. I think there is a tool which, of course, Adobe provides where you can analyze the customer behavior and therefore you can customize the communications.
Okay.
Just to give one simple example, somebody is actually used to buying only one product, which is a large cap fund. A large cap fund, you can always, of course, own a mid cap fund as well. Then how do I actually communicate with him and understands what is buying behavior? And basis which you actually customize one more communication, which I call the next best offer. And that's something that comes on the basis of the analytics, that comes on the basis of the understanding of the behavior of the customers, and also is actually the frequency of buying. And third, actually, the communications, when we do, actually, there are certain communications that doesn't even open up. I think one of the thing that we see is the open rate success.
Okay.
So most of them, we just send an email, but people don't even open it.
Don't respond.
There could be some reason for it. You can customize it. Therefore, these are some of the things which you learned over a period of time in mutual fund. See, mutual fund products are simple, but pushing the customers on an ongoing basis, you can't actually too much push it. At the same time, you have to give him some insight so that he actually gets inspired by the insight that's being given through the customer communication. Therefore, he is made to buy more frequently. But then anything that he buys, he is actually buying for a long term, his own benefit. That's something we as a mutual fund, we introduced Adobe These are something which you learn because we have huge much of data.
Yes.
But putting all the data in one place together, analyzing it, and the basis which you push through the communications, there is something you will realize. And my own personal learning is the open rate after we introduced this would have gone up from 10% almost to 22%.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay. Well, Pratibha, clearly you're speaking partly looks like to your clients only. They all are very familiar with your product. Now, what are the difficulties clients face in transiting into, an experience-led interface?
First is organizational silos, right? I guess many companies still have departments, and even if they're talking about servicing customers, they have different organizations, a sales team, a customer service team, a retention team. So there are silos within the organization servicing the needs of the customer, but in different lenses and not measuring the same thing. That's the first one. Second big challenge is data. I think they have spoken about it.
Yes.
Fragmented data, it's the same customer data, but different IDs sitting in different places. All of them are not together in one single data platform where you can have a 360-degree view of it. Third, I would say is technology platforms which are built for customer experience. You could have platforms for ABC for some processes, but are those tech platforms for customer experience, right UX, right customer data? So is that the right tech platform?
Fewer clicks.
Exactly. And last but not the least is culture. Because telling that, hey, we as a company, we are centered around customer experience and our biggest KPI is customer value, customer experience. Not everybody is aligned to that. That requires an environment of innovation and collaboration. It comes from top, that's the culture we want to drive. So these, I would say, are the 4 top challenges that today some of the top CEOs are facing with, and there are leaders and laggards, and clearly the leaders who have adopted customer experience have 2x revenue growth compared to others. I mean, that's the kind of stats.
Oh, that's a great lesson, I would say, a wrap on how you need experience-led growth. I deeply appreciate all that you've put on the table in terms of organizations facing problems to have direct interface with the customer. Well, we've just finished half the story. Lots more questions. They're coming back in a minute to understand experience makers and experience-led growth. Back in a jiffy.
CNBC-TV18 Adobe present Experience Makers. CNBC-TV18 Adobe present Experience Makers.
Welcome back to Experience Makers, a special presentation from CNBC-TV18 and Adobe India. We are trying to study how experience-led marketing helps companies get sustainable profitability and growth. I have been speaking with Mr. A. Balasubramaniam, the Managing Director and CEO of Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC, Vijay Chandok, the Managing Director CEO, ICICI Securities, Suresh Badami, Deputy MD, HDFC Life, and Pratibha Mohapatra, Vice President and Managing Director, Adobe India. Gentlemen and Pratibha, thank you very much for your patience. Well, Suresh, let me start with you again. We are talking about experience-led growth. Now, for an insurance company customer, the ultimate experience is getting your claims on time. Now, how does HDFC Life pursue that?
So claims, for instance, our settlement ratio is 99.7%. So if somebody were to go in and invest, they know that, look, down the line, if something were to happen to me, my family will, unless I have done a wrong disclosure somewhere, yes, we should be able to get it. Okay. So that is something which is critical. In COVID, for instance, in that particular year, we did almost 3.5 lakh claims and significant value in terms of gross claims. You're aware of almost 5,500 crores. Now look at the number of families who we have, gone out and bailed out. And that's really the essence of life insurance. Experience that people get on claims, it becomes a word of mouth. People trust.
Absolutely.
Your reputation increases. Your partner. So there is the end customer. And also what happens is the financial consultants who represent you, the banker partners who represent you, count on you to say that, look, this is the experience I got from HDFC Life as a partner, and hence I can trust them to now go and bring the solution to my end customers, right? I think the other part in terms of customizing and personalization, and I think we also work fairly closely with Adobe on this, and recently we did have the opportunity of winning the Experience Maker Award, was to say that, look, over a period of time, are we able to bring the exact right solution to the end customer, right? Now, whether it's in terms of personas that we build, and the platform helps us build personas which we are able to then go back and say, look, this is the right solution for you.
Okay.
Right? And that in turn helps them to say that, okay, it interests me. And like how Bala mentioned, it is a question of saying what are the click rates, what are the open rates, what are the conversion. And we've seen multiple times when we reach out to the end customer. So yes, experience matters. People build trust. People see what they are getting. They're comfortable that the family will. And really, if you want to put money in and you know that from age of 60 to 80, you're supposed to get some money back, you would rather put it with somebody where there's been a great experience.
Absolutely. Right? Vijay, to come to the broking part, recklessness or extra recklessness may be a strong word. Extra risk taking comes naturally to many of your customers. Are you able to use technology in such a way, or Adobe kind of interfaces in such a way as to restrain at the right time?
Absolutely. In fact, I'll give you an example. We have a proposition called iAlerts. This is a very interesting proposition, and it has to work on real-time basis. Let me give you some use case examples of this. So you have a customer who picks up a stock that he wants to buy. In his mind, it's a great stock. Just before he selects the buy button, you get a pop saying that, do you know that this company has made a loss last financial year?
Okay.
Right? He may not be aware. It's a pause. It sets him thinking. If he wants to check further, that's a route out for him. If he still feels it's good to go, he can move forward by clicking and bypassing it. Do you know that the promoters have pledged more than 25% of this stock? There's important information just before he's making a purchase. Another very interesting use case is when he's trying to sell a stock. Do you know that in the next 30 days, this will cross long-term capital gains? Okay. You still want to sell it. Okay. Or it's going to become, dividend is going to become due. These are things that don't come to him normally. So these are some of the use cases that we've been able to introduce. We've also created a lot of what I call risk containment tools. When you're taking a position in the stock, you need to know what could be my max downside. And can I block myself so that, sun, moon, rain, this is where it is, and then my position gets cut. It's possible to use technology to create such kind of instruments, such kind of products and tools, which gives him the comfort that, if I'm doing something, sun, moon, rain, this is where I sort of...
Okay. Let me get Bala on board on how do y'all improve the experience of a customer when it comes to choosing products? Perhaps equities people are somewhat informed. In debt, the information is even more tricky. It's a more sophisticated, almost an institutional product. So how do you manage experience-led growth over there?
General behavior of buying equity has been rising.
Yes.
But within the equity itself is quite complex in the sense the number of products that in equity,
yes,
the multiple number of schemes that we have. And we actually as fund house came with a concept called pro investing. So everyone, when he looks at the portfolio investing, you have a core portfolio, then satellite portfolio. Any portfolio manager globally actually follow this principle. Now we felt any mutual fund buyer of equity mutual fund should also apply the same principle of creating a portfolio with the core portfolio versus non-core portfolio, which is satellite portfolio versus this, thematic fund versus actively managed funds, and ETF. Therefore, give him a choice within those concepts. Then from there, you crystallize it further down.
Do you measure the risk appetite or risk characteristics of your customer?
On the basis of the person of the individuals, and actually give him a conservative investors, moderate investors, aggressive investors, basis which actually help him construct the portfolio. That's something we did. And that's, of course, it's become now popular. Then second is, a lot of people actually come to the mutual funds and subscribe to the SIP. But not necessarily when they do a SIP, they do actually for 1,000 rupees, though he may be worth, who could be capable of giving 1,00,000 rupees per month, but they always choose a small amount of 1,000 rupees. We actually go and prompt him using the artificial intelligence that we can build a data analytics, saying why only 1,000 rupees, can you now increase it? We call it a step-up SIP or Sampurna SIP, which will actually help you fulfill your aspirations. Because most of the people who come to the mutual funds, they have certain aspirations to get fulfilled. Then how do you enable it through the actually intelligence? Third, when it comes to the question of fixed income, of course, as you rightly put it, most of the people when it comes to the question of mutual fund, they think investing in equity is actually equal to mutual fund. They don't think about fixed income. That's why I think we make them aware that how asset allocation becomes very important. The equity market, of course, will always remain in the longer term bullish, but intermittent volatility if it comes, how to manage your portfolio allocation. Therefore, we prompted actually through the fixed income portfolio as well. And that's why I think the holistic experience that we can give to the customers, one on customer in terms of product selections. And within this product selection, as I mentioned earlier, understand the buying behavior pattern of the individuals. Also understand the persona of the individual on the basis of the holistic data that we can get in one page, and basis which you push through your communications, which I call it as a customized communication that we can do. Okay. And last but not the least, even onboarding of customers in mutual funds is one of the KFC is one of the bigger requirement. How fast you are able to get
absolutely.
So as you rightly put it in the beginning, that one click kind of things. I think a number of processes that you actually build as part of the overall process, which is nothing but the user experience that you are able to create it, and basis which you can onboard the customers as quickly as possible, that still gives better experience to the customers. These are many things that we are doing it.
It's very clear, Pratibha, that you all have a tough task at hand. If Adobe or people like you have to provide gateways and interfaces for such diverse products, I guess you all have to have a very deep understanding of the customer himself or the customer itself, in this case, entities. How do you all manage? I mean, of course, you are providing AI, but a lot of homework is done to get to this level of AI.
I think the fuel to creating AI is data. So that's something we should understand. And all the customer-facing organizations like they are actually sitting on this rich data, each one of them. And the models that are relevant for each one of them could be different, right? So we don't understand the customer, the data that is there, and the data modeling that happens at the back end, the AI engines that are there, that's the technology we build. And AI is self-learning, like we say, right? So having the right data platform, of course, gathering the customer information in terms of every click, every transaction through the customer whole life cycle, putting it all together in one place, our technology helps to model that and creates the right persona or the right modeling for our end customers here in this kind of profiles to use it. So that's what AI is all about. And basis that, if we have right, robust, clean and complete data, sometimes our data is not complete. So our goal is to provide the platform which can have rich, complete, quality and quantity of data. Underpinning that, we have the models.
Yeah, the effectiveness of your interface depends on the effectiveness
of the data. So that's how it comes in. And AI is infused into all our products. So be it providing the right pop-up for what next best action or what is the relatable product, or be it how the screen changes, what kind of pictures emerge for a young buyer versus a risk-averse person. So different Gen AI is what we use there, right? Okay. Where you can do your prompt engineering and others and build different pictures based on who is actually
approaching
it. So that's where AI comes into picture.
Okay, well, this is an excellent summary of what is needed for experience-led growth. Well, I guess customers are going to have a very good time if social media and the most advanced AI, generative AI, is being used to serve the customer in this fashion. Pleasure listening to you, Pratibha, Bala, Vijay, and Suresh. Thank you very much for an extremely rich experience-led understanding of customer interfaces and experience-led growth. Thank you very much.
CNBC-TV18, Adobe present Experience Makers.